Hey, what's going on? I wanted to address this misconception that I had before seeking therapy. I had this idea in my head that it's for broken people, you know? Usually when you think of therapy, a lot of people think you have to be like in the dumps, you have to be down low, you have to be at your worst state, where you're fully depressed and you hit rock bottom. And while certainly those situations and those folks that are dealing with those things exist for sure. However, in our culture, in my opinion, and in my immediate world, therapy is not something that you talk about. And for me, the reason why I initially even wanted to try it was because, and I had tried it before. I had gone a couple times, but I think when I went at that time, I just wasn't motivated internally to do it. And so this time, just kind of going through it with my wife, and we get in arguments, and then we kind of hit the wall, and it felt like my head was just kind of banging against the wall. She's getting frustrated with some of my behavior and some of my inability to be willing to be accountable for my actions. And when you really reflect and you're really honest with yourself, you tap into that vulnerability, and that feeling sometimes doesn't feel good. And then it kind of makes you question, well, if I'm doing that and I'm not good at that, does that mean this and that and this and that? And it kind of goes in this chain reaction. And so that was my initial reasoning. It's like, okay, I feel like it's always the same argument. I kind of feel like it's always the same pattern. I behave the same way, right? I get defensive. I make excuses. I don't take accountability. I lose track of what I've even like thinking, what my point is, and I'm not trying to make a point. And sometimes I just need to listen. And so for me, the reason why I chose to seek therapy is to get help. I was thinking about, like, if you go exercise and you want to develop your muscles and you want to develop your body, you do workouts where you work on your physique and you exercise your biceps or your chest or your shoulders. And there are people that have dedicated their lives to teaching methods and critiquing your form and giving you tips on what exercises you can do to enhance those things. And I feel like with therapy, that's kind of the same thing. It's that there's professionals that have dedicated their time to do all the research and get practice and experience through all their clients and people that they help out. And so I feel like by going to someone, not only are you just acknowledging that you need help or that you would benefit from the help, but also that you're looking for ways and things that you can implement in your daily life to make improvements. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at therapy. It's like my form of self-care in the form of working on my emotional and my mental state of mind and state of being. And understanding that the process it's an ongoing process. It's being consistent. It's being willing to be vulnerable. It's being willing to be wrong or expose things that need some more effort, that need some more attention. And so, when I was younger, it was like this idea that, dude, why do you go to a therapist? Like, you can't handle it, man. Like, it's either you're too emotional, you're sensitive, you're not being a man enough, so you can't handle it. And then it's just one of those situations where you're feeling like you're inadequate. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's like anything. If you're gonna go learn a skill, like I said, you're gonna work on your body and you wanna make improvements, you take certain steps to do that. And sometimes you hit a wall on your training alone, or sometimes you hit a wall on something that you're trying to master. So you need to apprentice before you do that, right? There's baby steps, and then you develop and you grow and you build onto each platform. And for me, mentally and emotionally, I can use a lot of practice. And I think that's the misconception about being older too. It's like this idea that like, oh, so you've hit this age, you're 40 now. I'm 43 years old. I'm going to be 44 soon. And you think that it's supposed to be working out. Like you're supposed to have it figured out. You have this big bag of tools that you can use. But the reality is, as you grow, the situations in your life expand and grow as well. So adding kids to the equation, adding work, adding being a husband, being a father, being a coworker, like none of that's changed. If anything, my responsibility and the level of commitment has increased. So now we have to pay bills, and we have a mortgage, and we have obligations that have way more repercussions if they're not taken care of. And I have my kids to think about, and I have my wife to think about, and I have my family where we're getting older and we're having to do these things and care for people that we never had to care for before. The people around us are slowly passing, unfortunately, getting illnesses, going through hardships, getting divorced. All of these things are traumatic, heavy things that sometimes we don't have a guidebook to deal with it. And if you don't have religion, and if you don't have a good core network of friends, and if you do have a great core network of friends, and you have a core family, and you go to church and you do all this stuff, it doesn't matter. It's still attacking you in the form of pressure, stress. You get that overwhelming feeling. And so for me, that's what therapy kind of helps with. It's not going to be your savior pill. It's not going to be like you're going to go there and then it's all done. No, it's more of a thing where you're going to have to put in the work and be consistent and show up. And then you have to be willing to share. You have to be willing to write. You have to be willing to express yourself. You have to be willing to acknowledge and discuss the things that are haunting you, the things that are making you happy, the things that are working, the pitfalls, and everything in between. And I feel like the more that we normalize it, especially as being a man, we normalize that there's nothing wrong with asking for help, with getting some pointers, with just having a discussion. And when I go into my sessions with my therapist, I'm acknowledging from the moment I make the appointment, from the moment I walk into the room, from the moment I sit down and discuss, I'm participating in this understanding that I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to share my thoughts and my emotions and my feelings. And I also have this understanding where I'm not expecting like this incredible feedback, but I'm expecting this individual that is a neutral figure that is willing to listen to me and hear me out and not tell me things with this impact of like, they're dancing around, making sure they have my back, but making sure that I'm trying to look at it from every angle and question, could this also be possible? Or why do you think this is happening? Or whatever the method is. And I think the difference is when I rely on your family and your friends and your coworkers, while I love them very much, they are most likely going to tell me, they're going to side with me, right? Because they want to make me feel better. They want to support me in that moment, which I appreciate and I love. But sometimes, you do need that constructive criticism. And when you get constructive criticism, sometimes it stings. Sometimes it feels like it's an attack. Sometimes it feels like it's a shortcoming that you wish you had and that you wish you didn't have to acknowledge. It's easier to hide under the rock, so to speak. It's easy to put your head in the ground and act like everything's perfect. But I just wanted to talk about this real short. It's kind of getting lengthy, and I'm just kind of riffing off my head and how I feel. But I'm being honest with you, and I'm trying to hopefully communicate to you that there's nothing wrong with seeking therapy. If anything, I can honestly tell you that it has forced me to slow my process down, write down my ideas, try to like pinpoint what it is that's on my mind, what's on my heart, what is kind of like gearing me towards a certain feeling. I'm being a little more aware and mindful of how I feel and letting myself embrace those feelings. And when I feel things, I'm trying to understand and also not dissect, but kind of under a microscope. Okay, what does that look like when I get upset, or when I get sad, or when I get overwhelmed, or when I get frustrated? And once I can start to see what the patterns are, then I feel like I can kind of almost backwards plan, where you have the end result you want, and then you kind of work yourself backwards. Okay, what steps do I need to take to either direct myself towards something different in a more positive way, or how can I direct myself head on and tackle some of these things one by one and not get that overwhelming feeling, and then everything in between. So thank you so much for checking in. I really appreciate the support. If you can please like, share, subscribe. And I'll end with this. What are you going through? What has helped you in your life? Do you seek therapy, and do you go to a therapist, and has it helped you in your life? And if so, what can you share with me or anyone else to have a discussion? I would love to have a discussion with you. I'm gonna keep posting videos. I like doing this. I feel like it's like my way of expressing myself, getting it out of my system, off of my chest, and hope to share and help someone or encourage someone out there to do the same. Peace out. Thank you so much.